Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or CFPB, is a creature of the Dodd-Frank Act passed in July of 2010, which was really a response to the financial crisis. The notion was there had been insufficient regulation, and so we need to consolidate regulation of all of them in a single agency that will be charged with protecting consumers, looking out for the little guy. So the CFPB first consolidates powers that had previously existed under 19 different statutes that were dispersed among a number of federal agencies dealing with consumer finance issues. In addition to that, grants the agency a new power to go forth and combat fraudulent, deceptive, and abusive practices concerning consumer finance. And it consolidates all of that power under a single director, the director of the CFPB. It is very unusual that the CFPB has a single director at its head, and that's one of the key things that the DC Circuit focused on in its review of the constitutionality of the agency. The court ruled that by concentrating all of that power in a single director who is not subject to control by the president or by Congress, separation of powers had been violated. Many times in separation of powers cases, the courts had focused on empowering one branch of the government as opposed to another. Here, Judge Kavanaugh emphasized that it is about protecting individual members of the public who are regulated by this agency and who have a right to an agency that has checks and balances built into its structure. So there are justifications given for the way that the CFPB is currently structured in terms of a single independent director, that we want an energetic director who will not be swayed by capture to interest groups in the way that the president or Congress might be. So this individual can really look out for the best interests of consumers. Director Cordray was asked at one point, well, what does that mean, an abusive consumer financial practice? And he said, well, that's actually a good question. I can't really define it in advance. I don't intend to do that. I will just bring enforcement actions when I find something to be abusive, and you can figure it out based on the actions that I bring. And I think that answer really encapsulates the power that the director had to essentially interpret statutes and regulations that have tens and hundreds of millions of dollars of consequences to consumers, to the financial services industry, to bring enforcement actions based on his own interpretations with nobody within that agency to check him or to question whether his interpretation is the right one. And so the CFPB was determined by the panel, henceforth, the agency will have to operate subject to the control of a president who has been elected by the people and who can serve as a check upon the way that the agency enforces those laws and rules.